Good evening, good afternoon, good morning, everyone. I am Cale Royer from treestuff.com. I am not David Anderson of Canopy Watch, but he will be on here in a little bit. I just wanted to introduce him and talk about a couple of the things that we have coming up in the world of tree stuff and arboriculture in general. So first off, right now, only for a couple more days, we have a deal going on where you can get an entire mechanical SRT device set up with the Notch Flow rope wrench and the Notch Fusion rope wrench tether together as a combo for absolutely free. All you have to do is just buy the stuff that you usually need to buy, as long as it's a $450 subtotal, and add the code SRT free, and then you will have a brand new, the most modern, like these things are supposed to work with each other, made by arborists and like super smart engineers. So go to Tree Stuff. Remember that SRT free. It's up at the top, the very top of the website right now. It just says SRT free next to some of the other things, like it says Tree Punk webinars, events. Going on to the next one down, Tree Punk. We have some limited edition Tree Punk gear in stock. This is cool stuff that has come over. It's a brand started in the UK. Really cool guys, cool stuff. So we're bringing it over into the US. And at Tree Stuff right now, we have the Tree Punk Distal Climbers, which are really cool. We have some t-shirts. We have some like long sleeve t-shirts, carabiner, and the Offspring recoil lanyard, which is also pretty cool. It's also different than the other recoil lanyards. It's a little bit longer. If you have any questions about Tree Punk, go to treestuff.com/tree-punk, or just type Tree Punk in anywhere and it'll bring it to you. Keep an eye out for things that are coming out. It's essentially like Supreme, like that brand where they would just put a big Supreme on it, but so much cooler. And it's a kind of, there's a big artistic license for the people making the designs to put on this, to put on arborist gear to make it cool. Also, this is all limited edition stuff. So it's like you got to buy it now or it goes away and you don't have it. They're really neat. There are things in the pipeline coming up soon. I can't tell you about them because they're super secret. Can't tell you when they're going to happen. Can't tell you what color. I mean, the color, there's going to be pink and green, but that's about all I can say about that. So go check that out. Really cool stuff. Coming up in events, we have July 1st, that is this Saturday, Colorado Tree Stuff Party. If you are in the area of Colorado, go to that. It's going to be a lot of fun. It is, I believe, right outside of Denver. Adam Clock is hosting that. And tree stuff parties are recreational climbs that are free to attend. So there's no reason not to go. We send a lot of gear out for that people can climb with and try out. A lot of fun. I always send out buffs and tree stuff banners and things like that. Sometimes there's competitions. Usually there's food and that you can partake of while you're there, and just meet people, have a great time. So the more people we get there, the more fun it is. Hey, bud, I'm in the middle of a webinar right now. I have a toddler. The next tree stuff party up is July 1st in Colorado, July 22nd in Kentucky. We're having that one. That one's going to be a lot of fun. I think that's a third year in a row that we've been doing this in Kentucky. Then we have a New Jersey one in July 29th. That is with New Jersey crane expert Jordan and Hans Thielman. They've got a big area up there, and they put on a whole big thing. It's an absolute blast. So go to that, please. When you go to these and you're having fun, take pictures, send them to me, so I can use these for more ads and stuff like that. Everybody is just always so busy out there at the tree stuff parties having fun that they forget to send me pictures to use for ads, advertising tree stuff parties. But that's beyond the point. The next webinar that we have coming up, July 27th, We have some people from Rig Guy coming up. They're going to be talking about cabling and bracing, specifically with the Rig Guy equipment, which you can find. I believe we have almost their entire catalog on Tree Stuff. They'll tell you about why their stuff is better and why it works so well and how to set it up. Then there's the Scannable Lunch and Learn on July 17th. That's on Monday, middle of the day. It's going to be like half an hour to an hour long, just on a lunch break, talking about some of the nifty things that you can do with scannable technology and where the industry is going with that kind of PPE accountability system. There's a Lunch and Learn with Yale on July 24th. Man, I am busy in July. And then in August, there is, of course, Treetopia, treetopiausa.com. If you need me to tell you about it, then you obviously missed out last year. It's a lot of fun. It's out on the West Coast, all outdoors, training, games. It's a big shindig. So go check that out. If you search that on our site, it'll come up with that. And you can sign up to come. You can sign up to volunteer. We need lots of volunteers. We need lots of people to come so that we can have a great time. So without further ado, I am going to go ahead and pass it over here to David. It looks like I already have somebody from Colombia here. Luis Felipe Barrera Rodriguez says he's from Colombia, so that's somebody he knows. If you have any questions at any point in time, go ahead and post them in the comment section on YouTube or Facebook. We'll stop every once in a while and see if there's anybody has any questions for David to answer, and he'll answer them live. At the end of this, there is a quiz that I will post to. It's 20 questions. You need to get 16 of them right, and then you can get 2 free CEUs. So without, once again, any more further ado, I'm going to pass it on over to David Anderson.
Hi, everybody out there in Tree Stuff land. Welcome to Oregon and the world. We're going to take a tour of the Western Hemisphere today in our presentation. So thank you for coming. Thanks to Cale for putting this on and Nick Bonner for the invite. Happy to have all of you here. This webinar is going to be something new and truly educational and just kind of outside the sphere of what you're used to hearing. And at the end, there's going to be opportunities for everyone in the audience to volunteer yourselves or people that you know and love, or maybe don't know and don't love, to be members, partners, and join the family of Canopy Watch. Nick Bonner came up with this title, The Art and Toil of Administering an Arbor Charity. And that's going to be part one of this talk. Part one of today's webinar is what is a nonprofit, how does a nonprofit work, and how does Canopy Watch fulfill the mission of a nonprofit? The second part is Tree Climbing for Cool Kids. That's the alternate title that I made up. Canopy Watch and the Climbing Armorist, which is you, everyone in the audience, and how you can do some of the cool and fun stuff that Canopy Watch does, hopefully to change the world and to change lives. Therefore, today's target audience is anyone interested in knowing how a nonprofit works and functions and how to start one. Maybe you've been thinking about that, or you know someone who does and you can share this presentation with them afterwards, or anyone interested in doing way cool stuff in trees and joining the Canopy Watch family. That's parts 1 and 2 of today's talk. So thanks for coming. Let's make this fun. I really came today to preach to the choir. I know that all of you and I sing the same music. I want to praise the gospel of that there is real power in trees to transform lives and impact life on earth. I believe that. I think you believe that. That's my vision and my passion, and I'm going to make it happen, and you're all welcome to come along and help it happen too. But whether it's taking altar-abled folks on their first tree climb, conducting research on monkeys in the canopy of Colombia, South America, or training future canopy biologists, trees and climbing them has the power to change the world. I believe that. Canopy Watch is a nonprofit organization. We conduct all of those activities that I just described. We take challenged athletes on climbs. We train scientists in Canopy Access and Canopy Research Methods. We do research and conservation projects and public climbs. Today, I'm going to give you a crash course on what is the definition of a nonprofit, what is the mission of Canopy Watch, and how, as a nonprofit, we fulfill that mission to transform lives and science, and finally, how you can join us in that transformation. I want you to hold on to your saddles. This is going to be fast and furious, but if you have a question, pop it in and Kale will read it to me, because this is interactive. This isn't me preaching down from the pulpit. This is us as a choir singing together. If you've got a question or a comment, give it to Kale and we'll get it answered. All right? Let's make this fun and educational, and together we can change the world. I believe it. Let's start out by defining what is a nonprofit, because that is the basis for today's talk. The best way to think about a nonprofit is that it is a type of business. But unlike the businesses that you go to every day when you go to buy something, if you go to buy a saw, if you go to buy groceries, the main objective of a nonprofit is to conduct that business without actually generating profit. That's the difference. We're not there to make money, we're there to do good. Revenue is needed by nonprofits, but it's not why we exist. Nonprofits use funding for charitable purposes, but not to pay our shareholders and our board of directors. Therefore, if I can advance to the next slide. Nope, I cannot advance to the next slide. We're going to try that. A 501c, I got it. 501c3 nonprofit is a national federal designation. If you can obtain that status from the IRS, the Internal Revenue Service, that designation applies to all 50 states equally. It's not a statewide thing. It's not like your driver's license or tax laws in your state. Once you apply for the United States, you got it in the country. A nonprofit is not profit motivated. So let's set a difference in the terms income and profit. We need to have income because we use revenue to pay for our activities, but we're not making money to pay shareholders, to pay huge salaries to the executive director, or I wouldn't be wearing a Canopy Watch t-shirt. A 501c3 is not, nonprofit is tax exempt. We don't pay taxes to the Internal Revenue Service. I'll talk about how that works in a little bit, but remember that. And nonprofits, rather than being profit-based, are charitable-based. Nonprofits exist to serve some higher purpose, a charitable purpose that might include education, science, conservation, public safety or services, health, for example, literary or religious. Think of some nonprofits that you might know of: the World Wildlife Fund, Saving the Children, St. Jude's Hospital. Those are all nonprofits. Canopy Watch has a mission to specialize in those first three: education, science, and conservation. How do we do it? Let's talk about the opportunities and privileges that come with being a nonprofit. This is the why. When I teach students, I always like to have a why. I'm trying to convince someone to join my team or to my perspective or point of view. What is the why? Okay, opportunities and privileges are the why for forming a nonprofit. And the first one that I like to think of is prestige. Anytime that you say, oh, we're a nonprofit, people are like, oh, they glow. Oh, you must be important. You're doing good things. That's really cool. Pat on the back. When you use that word nonprofit, it conveys a status, and that status is favorable. That's good. It helps when you are doing the other parts of this slide and the remaining slides. Nonprofits can request donations. Tree Stuff is not requesting donations, they're selling stuff. The supermarket doesn't request donations, they're selling stuff, but we have to make money, and one way to do that is to request donations. This is our website. You too can donate to the activities that you're going to see over the next 30 minutes or so.
I mean, if you want to donate to Tree Stuff, that's totally fine. You can just send us money. We'll take that.
And Kale will pass it on to Canopy Watch, I hope.
Yeah.
Another, he's laughing. No way, man. We're going to keep the money. Another way that, another thing that separates nonprofits from business, for-profit businesses, is that a nonprofit can apply for grants. The federal government has grants. State governments have grants. Big foundations have grants, and a lot of those grants are only distributed to individuals or nonprofits. So I can write a grant for $50,000 and use that money for a training. Those grants come with strings attached, but that's one way that we can make money. Nonprofits have members, right? Members receive benefits. They might pay an annual fee, $30, to join a museum, and then in exchange they get special tours of the museum. There's a members night when the general public's not allowed. They might get a newsletter, and the funds that the members pay again help the nonprofit conduct its activities. So members are a special feature of nonprofits. And then finally, and we're going to have to define this one, is no taxes. And if you saw the yellow star pop up, that's a reminder for me to talk to a points to you that you'll remember at the end of this presentation when you want to earn some CEUs. So when you see a yellow star pop up on your slide, do a screenshot or pay attention or take notes. What do I mean when I say no taxes? If I go buy a harness for for Canopy Watch, do I have to pay sales tax? Yes, I do. If I'm buying groceries, do I have to pay a tax? Yes, I do. But we don't pay income taxes at the end of the year. All of the money that we generate through our donations, our grants, and our members is tax-free, which means that money is then allocated to us to use towards our activities. That's what it means to be a nonprofit, tax-exempt 501c3 organization. Another requirement for nonprofits is that you have to apply to be a nonprofit. You can't just pick that up anywhere. The application form is freely available online. Actually, the PDF is, you have to submit through a portal. So you go online and you get the PDF and you know what questions to answer for the portal. This is a weed out type of process. The application is 28 pages long and contains language that none of us in this audience actually speak from day to day. It took me months to fill out the application for Canopy Watch because I would circle all the words on a page that I didn't know what they were. There might be pick one of these 10 definitions for your organization and which one applies to you. And I'm like, I don't understand 9 of those. So I've got to look all 9 up and then choose the one that applies to us. Who can submit these forms? Well, you have to have special qualifications to submit the form 1023. So question to you, are lawyers the ones who are uniquely qualified or legally certified to submit this application? Do you have to be an IRS employee? Do you have to be Nick Bonner or a two-headed monster? Actually, the serious stringent qualification for submitting this form is any breathing human body. If you can sit in a chair, breathe air, and write and type on a screen, you can submit the nonprofit. Actually, if you are not able to write, maybe you have a disability, you dictate the terms, put your name on there, and you can form a nonprofit. Yellow star, who can submit this form. To submit your application, you have to have governing documents. It's another part of the weed out process. It's important. Bylaws and articles of incorporation state the governing practices of your organization. How many members of the board of directors? What is your fiscal year? Does it start on June 1st or January 1st? Without those governing documents, you cannot submit your application. And if you don't fulfill your governing documents, you can have your nonprofit status revoked in the future. So you have this requirement of having your governing documents. You have to have a board of directors. So let's talk about the Canopy Watch board of directors as who they are, and then we'll talk about what they do. All right, we have excuse my tree stuff language, kick-ass, high power, cool as beans board of directors. Let's go from left to right. I want to introduce you to these special people. Scott Altenhoff, a lot of you will know him. He is the board chair. He is the manager and urban and community forester for the entire state of Oregon, USA. Notice those 3 words in bold, the board chair, secretary, and treasurer. As a part of your directors, you have to have 3 executive offices. The chair, the secretary who takes notes and does other stuff, and the treasurer who looks at the books. All right, so there's another question there. You have to have 3 board of directors to form your nonprofit, and you have to have 3 executive offices filled. Janina Fuller, retired, is a PhD, and she's the secretary for Canopy Watch. Ellen Wilson is an artist. She's also a Swiss Army knife. She can do almost anything for us, and she does all the time. She designs cool shirts like this one and helps us do our fundraisers. Nicolas Reyes is a PhD curator of mammals at the Instituto Humboldt in Colombia, South America. The guy knows everything about mammals on that continent. Nick Bonner is well loved by people like Kale and myself. He knows a lot about business. He helps us there. And Tremaine Gagry, another PhD, is a canopy biologist who works for the World Wildlife Fund. All right, so what do these cool people do? What is a board of directors? We hear that term all the time. You know, you're watching the news and the board of directors made an important decision today, or the board of directors was fired, or the board of directors was sued or something, okay? The board of directors gives advice and they make sure that the nonprofit complies with all the applicable laws from year to year. And, you know, you have to follow the laws or you get your status revoked. They don't do business deals. They can hire and fire the executive director. That's the only employee that they hire and fire, but they got that right. They're not supposed to decide on what the organization does. They don't say, you should have a special Thursday and do such and such. That's not their job. They give advice. They tell you what they believe is the right thing to do, and they're smart cookies. When you're forming a board of directors, you need the 3 T's. Can everyone count to 3? And you know the T's? Those are talent. They got to be smart and know what they're doing. You look at these photos, I've got people who are talented. Time. You want directors, at least some of them, who have time to help you do things that are necessary, like network for you, make contacts, introduce the director to important people, get you a webinar with tree stuff like that. And the last one is treasure. Talent, time, and treasure. Treasure means it's nice to have someone on your directors who can write a check and say, oh, $5,000 to fill this hole and do the training, here's 20. I know, not on our board of directors, sadly, but there are directors who donate $250,000, $500,000, or $1 million a year to their favorite foundation. So if you know that person, send them our way, won't you? All right, talent, time, and treasure. Who can serve on a board of directors? You have to have special qualifications for that too. Anybody can serve on a board of directors. They just have to have good common sense, good intentions, and believe in the mission of the organization. If they've got those 3 things, they're on your team. So those are the qualities of a board of directors and what they can do for you if you want to form a nonprofit. Who runs a nonprofit? I mean, who does the work? Paid employees do the work. If you've got enough money, you pay your employees. You might have an administrative staff. You might have an IT department. The executive director is the boss, the president, you know, the head scapegoat, the good cop and the bad cop. But you have paid employees. You have volunteers. By having volunteers, you spread not only your mission and your vision to those people who are closest to the organization, but it helps in that department of saving money and bringing more funds back to your core programs and programming. The board of directors helps run a nonprofit. They help in the decision-making process and inform the executive director on what the best path is to take. And advisors. You might have someone who's not on the official list of board of directors, but they're the one you call when you need advice on something. So you might have a panel of advisors. Those are the ones who, under different capacities, run a board of directors. And the last requirement of a nonprofit that I have is file your annual financial report with the IRS. Maintaining a nonprofit is a privilege. It is one that can be taken away. You have to be good. You have to follow the rules. You submit your financial report and it tells the IRS that you're doing what you're supposed to with the money and you're not breaking the rules. You're not taking the money and buying gifts for yourself or your family members, for example. All right, nonprofits come with challenges, and the number one challenge that every nonprofit faces is the revenue stream. If we're not there to make money, we're there to do charitable purposes, but we have to have money. Where does the money come from? That's your revenue stream. So I talked about some of these. Grants is one. Grants may be as little as $1,000 and as big as, I know of a grant this year for $50 million. I didn't apply for that one. Maybe I should have. Merchandise. We can sell t-shirts like the one I'm wearing, and then those proceeds, you sell a t-shirt, the money goes to support your programs once again. Memberships. As I mentioned before, you have members, they pay an annual fee, they get a benefit, they love you. Memberships is a good way to raise money. Activities and services. Canopy Watch may do a team building exercise or a birthday party, charge a fee for that, and then turn around and go buy a harness for a challenged athlete. And donations, finally. Those are the kind of the 5 main ways to raise money, star in the lower left-hand corner. And all of those take work. None of that's easy, all right? They all take work. So running a nonprofit is not easy. Lesson number 1 for the day. Nonprofits have a mission. It's important to have your mission statement clearly written. It's your elevator pitch. You are flying on a Concorde jet and you look over to your left and there's Nick Bonner and you want to invite him to be on your board of directors. You have to have your elevator pitch. So Canopy Watch, I'm going to give you 2 mission statements for Canopy Watch. These are kind of the principles that govern what we do and hope to achieve in the world. The one is tree climbing for personal and scientific discovery. We want to discover new life forms in the canopy and conserve the ones we know of. And personal discovery happens when you surpass your fears, what you perceive as limitations, when you overachieve and you're able to climb a tree and look back and say, I'm a different person today than I was yesterday. That's personal discovery. We're going to talk about both of those in the next slides. This is when the presentation turns fun. And we climb trees to impact lives and conserve nature. That's why we climb trees, simply stated. Provide people with a new vision of themselves on the way to making the planet a better place. 1 tree climb at a time. Oops, yellow star. It was so important it fell down from the sky. All right, how do we achieve our mission? I told you before that we do education and outreach. One of those ways is through public tree climbs. Here we have one of our climbers from a climb that we did in Boise in May. And in the background, you see what looks like a tree climbing competition, because it is. And that's what's really cool about some of the tree climbs that we do. By taking public on a guided tree climb in a park in Boise, they got a canopy eye view of arborists competing in the competition, and they can appreciate the technical skill and wizardry of a good arborist. And then they can say, yeah, I'm paying that person what they asked me, because now I understand how hard it is to climb a tree. What better way to do education and outreach at an ISA tree climbing comp? We do adaptive tree climbing. What are adaptive sports? Meet my new friend Carrie, also at that climb in Boise in May, looking out over the competitors there. Adaptive sports is when we adapt equipment or system options or equipment options to be suitable for alter-abled people. Notice that I'm not saying disabled. All of us have alter abilities and all of us have disabilities. What we bring to the table is what we bring to the table. And so everyone's going to climb. But if you are physically challenged, yeah, or you have developmental challenges, I want to get you in a tree, because you have the right to all of those views and activities that every other climber does. So we call these folks challenged athletes. And Canopy Watch does adaptive tree climbing for challenged athletes. I want to introduce you to a boss, and I'm going to try not to be sentimental. I met a boss last year at an adaptive climb. He's been to 3 of these now. When a boss showed up at this tree, it was hard for him to go 30 feet from the paved path to the base of the tree. He had to force his wheelchair through the grass and over the roots. And it took 3 people to help him put a harness on. But he climbed faster than I did on this system that we adapted for him. And he was so happy that our instructors gave him the nickname of the boss. Not just a boss, but the boss, because the dude is the boss. All right. And if we see this photo on the left more often, then I believe we're impacting lives. We do private tree climbs. This climb was conducted for a church at a summer camp. They wanted their kids to have an alternative activity, something that they, team building, bring them together, let them see something about life that they hadn't experienced before. It is a service that we can charge for, and then we can use that money and reinvest it in equipment for challenged athletes and some of our other activities. I want you to meet Owen. Owen has done this climb with us 2 years. The first year, his challenge was to make it 6 feet off the ground. The second year, I adapted a system just for Owen, and he climbed to the top of the tree. That's cool. We train university students and professors in classes and for their research purposes. What if you have a professor who wants to study goshawks or ants, or a graduate student, and they want to be on the top of a tree and they don't know how to get there? Organizations like Canopy Watch can do that for them, all right? So that's education. And this year we taught a canopy biology field course for students from 9 countries, all the way from Hawaii to, Mexico and all across South America. This was taught through the Organization for Tropical Studies, and it combines kind of my talents and passions personally, because I don't talk about myself too much, but I have 3 college degrees in the wildlife and biological sciences and 25 years climbing trees for science. So it means that I know how to conduct science, and I can teach a course to students who likewise want to know how to climb a tree in a tropical rainforest and study the life in the top of that forest. And it's fun. And I'll tell you that these 2 women, when they got to the top of this tree, they and their instructor, who remains anonymous, actually started crying because it was so beautiful in the top of that forest. But the greatest achievement that we have, the greatest flagship that we sail, is called Discovering the Canopy, which is a training in canopy access methods for research and conservation in Latin America. There's some photos there from 2021. We teach this almost every year. This course is taught to scientific and conservation professionals from Latin America who do not have access to this type of training or the equipment used to climb trees. It is taught in Spanish by professional arborists from the United States and Mexico. This course is really cool. And I want to talk with you about the costs of this course and the instructors who teach it and some of our students. The market value of this course is probably $2,500 because the students live together for a week in an eco lodge someplace. We all dine together. All of those meals and lodging are paid for. The instructor travel is paid for. The equipment is all on loan to the students. The full value is $2,500. How many of our students can afford that? Maybe 1 every 5 years. Students in Latin America can't afford that. This is not a for-profit exercise. It's to change the face and the future of conservation in Latin America. That's why we teach this course. It serves the purposes of a nonprofit by engaging in science, education, and conservation. How do we fund this course if it's not paid for by the students? This is pretty smart. We charge a small fee to the students to make sure that they come interested in the course, not just a week in an eco lodge climbing trees. And they pay about 1/16 of the market value. We get sponsorships from organizations. I'll show you a slide in a little bit that donate equipment and money to make the course possible. Some years we get grants and others we don't. Instructors donate their time, right? All of the instructors are certified arborists who come from the United States to teach this, and donation, again, from folks like you, help make this course real for these students who otherwise would never have this life-changing experience. Many of you in the audience will know Noel Rodriguez of Gaia Tree Service. He's in the upper right corner of the slide in a blue shirt standing on a branch. Thanks to Noel for teaching this course. And I want to introduce you to the woman in the center photo because she's coming back later in this presentation. Her name is Vanya, and she's from Peru. She took Discovering the Canopy in 2022, and she's doing some cool stuff with her work that you're going to see in a little bit. So remember the name Vanya, and that she likes bright colors. We'll come back to her. What do students learn in Discovering the Canopy? Anything that you would learn in a ropes course. How line installation in a tree. The components of a climbing system, how to put them together, how they work independently and together to get you into a tree, and knots. We have a photo of some students who took a photo of a knot. And by the end of the week, the students are able to limb walk like Carlos Funes here in Honduras. We taught this course in Honduras one time, and after 5 days, on the 5th day, Carlos took this limb walk out on a big ficus tree. That's pretty good for 5 days. How did we get Carlos out on a limb? There's more than technical knowledge that is required to get a student to do that, all right? So here's an example. That's Noel in the red helmet. There's a student there named Gabi and another one named Maria in the background. Noel is a genius when it comes to training. He had this idea. He hung a hammock over the river, right? You can't walk to it. Nope. And if you climb the tree that the ropes were installed in, you can't get to it. So how do you get to the hammock? You climb up tree number 1, traverse to tree number 2, come down tree number 2, and you can rest in the hammock like Ana Maria there is doing. That challenge motivates students. But we get into their hearts. We have a training methodology that really gets into students' hearts so that they can believe in themselves, that they are capable of anything. And I'm going to give you 2 examples. Santiago Zuluaga had this to say after he took the course. I'll let you read that, please. This course took Santiago to a level of his profession that he thought was out of reach to him. This is him 1 week after the course, climbing a 100-foot tall tree in the Andes of Colombia, where he captured a juvenile bird in its nest, put a satellite transmitter on it, and used those data to get his PhD on the biology of the species. Pretty darned cool. Here is Gabi, and this is what she said after she took the course. I asked her, what impact did the course have on you, Gabi? And she broke down and cried, and then she said this. That is impacting lives and conserving nature. And I have to thank our official sponsors for Discovering the Canopy 2022. And I have to thank our elite sponsors for Discovering the Canopy 2022. Thank you very much to all of those fine people for making this course possible to our fine students. All right, what else does Canopy Watch do? We participate in conservation research with our students. This is myself and a technician in Colombia with a photo that we just downloaded from a Canopy camera trap showing a troop of howler monkeys. This project combines tree climbing, you see a climbing system there, canopy science in that, and technology, we've got a camera trap, and the know-how to do biological research science, not only on the ground, but in the trees. This project is run by, does it pop up? Laura Ciavato, one of our students, who is a student at the University of the Andes in Colombia, South America, and our sister organization, Alianza Natural. Here's another one, conservation research with a program called PGR Colombia, which stands for Proyecto Grandes Rapaces de Colombia, or the Great Raptors of Colombia. There's my good friend Felipe Barrera in a harpy eagle nest with 2 cameras staring down to record the biology of, hope you just had lunch or you're eating dinner right now, because wait till you see this slide. A juicy, cute little monkey in the talons of a harpy eagle. By installing camera traps, we learn biology of harpy eagles. And this is what top predators do, okay, because they don't have manners and they don't have silverware. All right, And there's Proyectos Grandes Rapaces de Colombia and Alianza Natural, the other organization that runs this project. We had a chance to make a documentary film, and we're trying to get a couple of more gigs going. Building a platform. There's the beloved James Luce, who some of you will know. Building a platform in front of a harpy eagle nest to get filmmakers from the Peregrine Fund, Skyship Films, and Bioelectric Studios into the canopy where they could produce one of the most breathtaking wildlife films I have ever seen. If you can do a screenshot and find this Aguilucho, Dance of the Harpy Eagle, it's like a 35-minute film. You'll love it. Trust me, you'll love it. All right. We also recruit volunteers. Here's Ben Scott, who just flew home from Peru yesterday or today. I helped recruit Ben Scott to volunteer on a project in the Peruvian Amazon. Ben is from Canada, by the way. Thank you, Ben, for doing this. Hope you're watching. And he worked with Vanya, who I asked you to remember from before. Vanya Tejeda Gomez, who on Instagram is at this handle Son Kitty, and there's Ben Scott at Trico Systems on a project called Connecting the Amazonian Canopy, because they were building bridges over roads for arboreal wildlife to cross over roads, because monkeys and porcupines aren't going to come down 150 feet, walk across the ground and climb another tree. They go from tree to tree. And they installed a camera like you see there over a bridge that they built, and they're learning how to adapt the paving of the Amazon to the conservation of species. Damn right. Now, here's the juicy part that some of you have been waiting for a long time. Notice the yellow star. You can join Canopy Watch. You can do this stuff. Okay? You can make Canopy Watch better and impact lives and conserve nature. Yes, you can. I'm going to give you 3 ways, each one being more intensive than the previous one. So I hope you're ready. Okay? The first and easiest way is to donate money. Sorry to make that pitch, but I do, because it pays the bills. It helps us train students like this group of 10 from El Salvador and Honduras. You can go to canopywatch.com/donate, and you can uplift a group of students to do this work and change their careers and their futures. Your donations will offset the cost of expensive equipment that we use for our challenged athletes. If you have new equipment to donate, if you work for a company that sells equipment, we use new equipment in raffles that we then take that money. Sometimes it's a lot easier to get equipment than money. You give us the equipment, we'll turn it into money, and we'll take students like this into the canopy. And we need a winch. So we need a very nice, expensive winch for some of our challenged athletes who just need a little bit extra help to get into the canopy to see what the world looks like from up there. So if you can get us a winch, you're on the team. Make a donation, easy peasy, quick and easy, done. Number 2, you can volunteer for conservation programs in Latin America. There's Ben Scott pointing at a bridge that he just installed with Vanya over a road in the Amazon. We also have climbing instructors in the US of A, America. How do you connect with us if you want to volunteer? Hold on to that question. It's coming up right now. So volunteering might be a one-off deal. It might be on a Saturday and a Sunday. It might be 3 weekends in a year, but we do recruit volunteers for projects in the USA and internationally. And serve. We are recruiting for these 5 positions. If you feel like you're qualified and interested, or you have a brother or a sister or a spouse or a good friend, get in contact with me, please. Let me describe what these are. We need an accountant. We either can find a volunteer accountant, or we can use our precious earned funds and your donations to pay somebody. I'd rather have a volunteer who can do our books once a month, and our books are simple, small investment, very important. We need a webmaster because our website is outdated and needs some help. All right, so you know someone with those talents, send them our way, please. Social media guru to create a social media plan and design media and train yours truly to be more savvy in the social media world. We are recruiting to the board of directors. You can be my boss if you can make it onto the board of directors. How about that? So if you have some common sense and you believe in our mission, contact us, and I'll show you how in a second. And we need an executive officer on the board of directors to fill the position of treasurer, who oversees the accounting and helps with the financial planning. 10 hours a month, 6 meetings a year, occasional phone calls and emails. You can be on the board of directors. How do you get a hold of us? Kale is going to post in the chat a link to a Google form where you can provide your contact information, your interests, and your special superpowers and talents, and we will give you a call. If you want to find out more about Canopy Watch, if you want to volunteer or serve, there's the Google form coming up for you momentarily. You can donate at canopywatch.com/donate. On Instagram, we're Canopy_Watch. On Facebook, we are Canopy Watch International, because if you can believe it, there's a nonprofit in New Guinea that's called Canopy Watch. Who would have thought? And on the web, we're canopywatch.com. Yes, we are, canopywatch.com. I've got some acknowledgments, starting with Alianza Natural and Felipe Barrera. Felipe is like my Colombian brother from other parents. He helps everything that we do in South America. Thanks, bud. Nick Bonner extended the invitation for this webinar. It was his idea. Kale Royer of Tree Stuff made it happen. There's a lot of sponsors on the right side of the screen. Undoubtedly, I had to forget someone. So my apologies to everyone, but, and you can join that team. You can get your logo on there. Look, there's some nice little companies like the New Jersey Crane Expert is on there. They're doing the Tree Stuff party in New Jersey sometime in July or August. So thanks, Hans and Jordan. So you too can join this elite crowd. And if you have questions that won't shoot me down like these soldiers watching a training in Honduras, I'm happy to take your questions on things that we do, how to form a nonprofit, or anything else that you're motivated by. So that looks like I'm in 48 minutes into the talk. Thank you for coming, and hope to see you again. Kale, take it away. Do we have any questions?
I got a couple questions. First here, Kelly Bauer wanted to know how you got started and what inspired the creation of Canopy Watch.
Kelly Bauer, such a great question. On our website, probably on the first page, but I don't remember where, there's a TED Talk, and it describes how I got into tree climbing. I got into tree climbing because I wanted to study birds in the rainforest canopy. When you're on the ground, you can't even see the rainforest canopy. So I had to teach myself to climb. I realized that I was doing everything wrong. And it dawned on me after a long time climbing the way I was that I didn't know as much as I thought I did. I became a better climber and thought I can make a shortcut for people who want to learn climbing and they want to do it safely and they don't have to make all the mistakes that I made. And secondly, because it had a huge impact on me. There's the beauty on the top of a forest is like no place else. I saw people come up to a tree petrified with fear, and they'd go up and they would have to rappel off of a branch and they would come down a new person. So that's why. Thanks.
Just making you cry again. I have a question. Do you see any other opportunities in the arborist space for nonprofits that are a kind of niche that someone is kind of waiting for someone to fill there?
Let's see. I think that training and outreach are the two biggest niches in the arbor world there. Training and outreach, getting more people into trees. And Canopy Watch can't do it all. I would sure like to. So there's room for you too to form your own, arbor-based nonprofit.
Perfect. All right. Well,
there's lots of people who want to learn how to climb trees.
Yeah, there's a lot of
homeowners who want to do work in their trees.
That's true. Yeah. So if anyone has any desires to get into the nonprofit sphere and do some help that makes you feel good and makes the world a better place, please get a hold of David or get a hold of us, and we can get you in touch with David. Go to canopywatch.com. Yeah, thank you very much once again for coming out here and talking with us. It's been great seeing you and great hearing all the stories and seeing what you've been doing around there. So I am going to...
Thanks to everyone for coming. And
Yep. Yeah, thanks everybody for coming. And the quiz is linked in the comments section right now, as well as the form, the volunteer form for Canopy Watch to come and join that. Thanks for watching. Have a nice night, everybody.